In this segment of Container DigiTalks, we wanted to learn more about how digital organizations are coping with the COVID-19 situation. So we reached out to Sanne Manders, COO at Flexport, in order to ask him about how data plays a beneficial role in all of this. So let's DigiTalk about data-driven agility. So thank you for taking the time to speak with me today. I really appreciate that. And Flexport, you're representing Flexport, right? And who is a digital freight forwarder. So could you just really briefly explain what a digital freight forwarder is?
Yeah, and it's a good question. I actually don't like the terminology digital freight forwarder because freight is inherently physical, right? As
Right.
people have to touch it, otherwise it doesn't move. So I always call it technology-enabled freight forwarder instead of digital freight forwarder. The industry tries to push us in, let's say, the whole thing of digital freight forwarder, which I'm also fine. But what it means for me is that we're using technology to make the customer experience and the operations more efficient. The customer experience in terms of, let's say, better decision-making on our customer side, better visibility, better data. We're using that same data to optimize the workflows internally and drive automation.
All right, thanks. Thanks for the clarification there. So as a technology forwarder...
You can use digital freight forwarder, don't worry about that.
Okay.
I have my own opinion on it. I have also an opinion on that. People say you're disrupting. I said, no, we're not disrupting. We're trying to accelerate evolution here. It's not from one day to another day that this industry is differently. No, we're using technology to make it better.
Yeah, I like that. So then my next question would be, so we are, in normal times, not disrupting, but trying to make things better with digital solutions and better technology. But now that we're in this COVID-19 situation, as a digital organization, does it make you somehow better able to adapt to what's going on, or more agile, flexible?
Absolutely, and I think the word agile is the right word, and I think we will be talking about agility quite a bit in the next 25 minutes. But it has a couple of big advantages, and advantage number one is it was very easy to go to a work from home situation for us because everything is cloud-based. The office is a place where people meet. But this here, we're here in a video conference, right, is also a place where people meet. So it was basically, we decided on a Thursday, on a Monday we were working from home, and that worked seamlessly. The same is actually for our clients. We saw a lot of clients that had to move home as well. And we got a lot of compliments from clients that say, your platform makes it super easy. I still have everything at my fingertips. Actually, yeah, my desk moved to home, but nothing else changed. So it's been really seamless, and honestly speaking, I think that the productivity of the company actually went up because people don't do unnecessary meetings now.
Oh, wow, yeah, that's a good point, right?
So that's number one. Number two is we do, of course, collect a lot of data. That data are good leading indicators of what's happening in the world, but also what's happening with our clients and how we can actually help our clients with creative solutions. So what you saw, after the extended Chinese New Year that was driven by COVID, you see that there was a rush for products to get into the destination markets. People, didn't have products. The shelves were getting empty, and they needed to speed up their supply chains, right? So then offering, let's say, other solutions like rapid ocean solutions, air solutions, and looking at their data, what do you need actually to fill up your warehouses again, is definitely helpful. I think we're also just more agile in terms of our technology. We can make faster decisions because we have all our data at our fingertips. It's not that we have to run spreadsheets and collect data. No, everything is at our fingertips. So it's a simple query, and we know much more about our business. So we can go very deep, understand business patterns, and make quick decisions on it.
Okay, yeah. So the data becomes basically more beneficial in terms of speed and
Exactly, and that's what's important with data. You know, you need data to make decisions, but
mhm,
you need accurate and timely data to make fast decisions. And that's what people very often forget, right? If you get a spreadsheet once in a week with an overview of data, that's very different than you have it, accurately at your fingertips, right? Because
mhm.
then you can make decisions in the moment, and that's what we're all about is driving accuracy and speed of data so that you can make faster decisions.
Right. So then, going along with all of this data and again the situation, are there any specific learnings that you would be keen to share that could help the industry as a whole? Like anything that the data has provided you or that you see could be beneficial for others?
Yeah, I think the most important learning, I think volatility is the new normal. That's the
Mhm.
most important learning. And if you're looking at it, and let me get myself a slide in front of me. If you're looking at it, volatility is everywhere right now. It's on the demand side, right? The products that were selling really well up to 3 months ago might not sell at all right now,
Mhm.
right? The products that were not selling up to 3 months ago might be your fast runners right now.
Right.
So in terms of, let's say, planning, that leads to enormous volatility, right? If you're looking at your supply base, there's a lot of volatility. There where you thought you could rely on one country of origin for your sourcing, now you know that a country can shut down overnight, right? And we've seen some other disruptions along the way, in the last couple of years. And tariffs, of course, it was a big one as well. But this one is even more disruptive. So that will lead to further diversification and more volatility there as well. And then on the side of the logistics, there is a lot of volatility. Uh, there's an unprecedented amount of blank sailings, right? I think
Mhm.
on some strings it's up to 50%, but on average is roughly 30% blank sailings, increasing every day, by the way. On the air freight industry, the disruption is even more because 50% or 45% of the capacity just evaporated overnight. So there's a lot of volatility, and I think you should just assume that volatility is the new normal.
Mhm.
So that for me is the biggest learning. And what can you do with that learning is that you have to get ready for volatility. And how do you get ready for volatility? That's the word agility, right? So that's why I already mentioned it to you. We're going to talk about agility. And for me, agility, and we're using a military concept for agility, which is called the OODA loop, which is observe, orient, decide, and act. And it's basically all about, how quickly can you make decisions and observe. So start with the first one, observe. Um, you know, do I have all the data available? What is the quality of that data? Um, um, what is my role as a supply chain manager or as a company within in the supply chain of my customers, right? Then orienting, it's all about, um, do I have everything to make the decisions? Can I trust the judgment of my suppliers, right? Are my suppliers doing real problem solving, or they're just trying to finger point the problem to somebody else, right? And then, deciding is all about, do I know my options, right? Am I empowered to make decisions? And if you're looking at these things, if you're looking at the OODA loop, you can actually accelerate your decision making. And then if you accelerate your decision making, you become more agile. So for me, the big learning is here. You need to be more agile.
Mhm.
And that's not an easy task, especially when you're a big company. Processes are very well documented. There's a lot of approvals, et cetera, et cetera. If you have an approval chain where you go from a manager to a director to a VP, et cetera, it's very hard to be agile because it all slows it down. So how do you delegate decision making? How do you empower the person that is closest to the problem to make quick decisions, right? And so we're spending a lot of time on that. And we thought we were pretty agile, but we're not agile enough. So we're spending quite a bit of time on that.
All right, interesting. So That's so you're working right now on improving your agility.
Yes.
Is that part of your, what I like to call the COVID-19 recovery strategy as well?
Yes, absolutely. Because I think volatility will be the new normal.
Mhm.
Um, you know, nobody here has a crystal ball. The future is going to be very uncertain. Are we going to go through, a 1930s scenario with a deep recession, right? Or is it going to be much more like 2008, or is it something in between, right? It's the whole discussion around a V-shaped, U-shaped, or L-shaped recovery. Nobody knows. What we do know is that it's going to be deep. We don't know how fast the recovery will be, but that recovery will come with a lot of volatility as well. And you need to be agile to deal with that. Bankruptcies might be there of customers, of carriers, of competition. This is all going to lead to a lot of disruption, and being faster in your decision making is then the way to, number one, survive, but also to capture opportunities when they're there.
Okay. So do you recommend that other companies start looking into like preparing themselves, like trying to go towards digital solutions, collection of data, like becoming more agile in order to survive what's yet to come?
Yeah. So what you're asking is, what are the requirements for being more agile?
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I think being digitally native is a big advantage, because you have all that data at your fingertips. So I would recommend companies to invest in digitization and getting that transparency in data. The other one is a cultural one. Is are you willing to delegate decision making? And this is a tough one, because a lot of managers want to make the decisions, and they're like, propose me what you decide, team, and then I'll decide. Instead of that, they say, how about we talk about the strategy and the mission and the vision and the role of this company, and I'm manager, I'm a facilitator of that ecosystem, and I'm delegating that decision making to you. And I'm not saying that we're good at it. We're trying to be good at that, but that cultural part is extremely important to be agile.
Okay. So like not only nationalistic culture, but like company culture as well then, right?
Well, it's company culture, right? It's company culture in terms of in terms of, let's say, how do you what is the role of the individual? How are decisions being made? How strong is your value set? Are people using the values to make decisions? For instance, for us, our number one value is empower the client. So I want people, when they make decisions, and they have to make a trade-off between two outcomes, that they take the outcome that is empowering the client. um, is the mission, is the vision, is that clear to everyone who's working in the company? Because if they have the mission and the vision clear, and for us the mission is very simple, it's make global trade easy for everyone. So if people do things that make it more complex, they're not in line with the mission of the company, right? So if you have a clear mission, a clear value set, a clear strategy, and you empower people, you should assume that it's going well. Of course, that's not always the case, but then you have feedback loops and make sure that you absorb, you get that feedback, and then say like, hey, what you did there before was probably not the right thing to do. Let's change this a little bit, and next time we make the decision in that way. But it's actually a much more agile way of working than being in that decisions as a manager, being in every decision. Because if you have to be in every decision, then I'm the bottleneck. And I need to take the bottleneck out of the decision to be faster in that OODA loop that I described.
That makes perfect sense. Okay, so basically the theme here is then I'm saying like agility, to expect volatility, so to build up that agility now, both through embracing digital solutions and also through working on that company culture and that decision-making process.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, but that's basically how you create agility, and then you have to translate that to, how do I help my customers, currently weathering the storm, and then, get ready for the recovery and get ready for the new normal, which will be much more about volatility and about volatility. So, that's probably another interesting topic is what can you learn or what can we do for customers to get ready for the future, and it's a couple of things. I think these type of disruptive events make customers aware that they also need to be more agile. So there are a couple of things they need to do. Number one, they need to know what they signed up for. Um, for some reason, a lot of people think that they signed up for a specific contract, um, um, but then they don't realize that it doesn't have a lot of flexibility. And that's all fine when the world is steady state, and you're importing 1,000 containers a year. You're doing roughly 40 a week. And things work well. You signed up a back-to-back contract on a NAC with the carrier, 40 a week, and now all of a sudden it's 1 week 0, the other week 100, right? Do your contracts allow for that kind of flexibility? Most likely not, right? So if you assume a world that is volatile in the future, how are you going to, deal with that flexibility? How are you going to build that into your contracts? So that's one of the things, right? People also think that equipment is guaranteed. Well, we've seen equipment is not guaranteed, right? There's a lot of empty equipment around the world, but it's not located in the right places. So equipment is not guaranteed. So how do I make sure that I have the right guarantees there in my contracts? So I think it's all the same lesson. Do I know what I signed up for, and how much flexibility, how much redundancy is in that in what I signed up for? So that's number one. Number two, have I evaluated my providers, my logistics vendors, on business continuity? I'm actually surprised how that we're not getting that question very often, right? Do you have a business continuity plan? And you see it more in the large enterprises that they will ask for it, but a lot of customers don't ask for it, right? How do you go to work from home situations? Are your warehouses still open? All those kind of things. If I were an importer, I would like to know that. I would like to have answers, right? Problem solving, things. If everything is stable and everything runs well, you don't have to solve any problems. It's not that hard to run a supply chain. It becomes hard when problems when there are problems. Your container doesn't get loaded. The carrier that I'm using is going bankrupt. My warehouse is full. I can't accept any more containers, right? I need my toilet paper much faster because it's flying off the shelves, right? So what do you do with problem solving? And what I am surprised is that, and currently it's on the Trans-Pacific, it's the bid season where the annual contracts are closed. Is that a lot of customers invite us for a bid but haven't tried us, and we will always push towards like, hey, let's try each other. Right? Mm-hmm. Let's work together for a little bit. And my secret hope is always that one of those shipments that we work together on goes wrong. Right? Let's say we have 20 shipments and one goes wrong, because that's right. Shipments go wrong because I want a customer to see how we solve problems. That we make it transparent, that we're on it, and that we're solving the problems. And keeping them in the loop, asking them for feedback. And problem solve together as a team, because inevitably it's going to happen, and you want to know what your provider is able to do when things go wrong, because when things go right, it's honestly a lot of people can do the job. But when things go wrong, that's where the differentiation comes in. So that's why we are always asking our customers before we actually say, we're participating in your bid, do a trial with us, because you can experience our platform, you can experience our service, and maybe if something goes wrong, you can also experience our problem solving. So that's number two that I always say to clients. And then the third one is evaluate your providers on accuracy and timeliness of data, right? Because I can tell you that I give you SKU level data, but if it's not correct, it's not valuable. So evaluate that and make sure it meets your standards of making the decisions that you want to make.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, going again back to the data thing and having the precision and accuracy and timely data. All right. Well, yeah, super, super insightful, especially that, it's not often when you hear somebody say that you want something to go wrong, but that's a really
preferably I don't want it to go wrong, but
yeah.
And if something goes wrong, I prefer it to be something small. But I can tell you that the best relationships are built at the moment that things go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And you can actually see your vendor or your provider as a partner in solving that problem.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of that they try to put it under the carpet and hope for the best, right? Or blame a typhoon or something like that, right? For us that's not possible because everything is very transparent in our app, so customers see what's going wrong, and if we screw up, it's very clear that we screw up. But it's also one of our values is practice candor. Directly reach out to the customer. So like, we got a problem here. Doesn't matter who caused it right now. We're going to solve it first. Then we're going to do a post-mortem and see what we can learn from this.
Yeah, and I think that that transparency, because like you say, problems are inevitable. They will happen, and nothing's always perfect. But I think it's like when you have that transparency and you're able to give that to people, I think that's what really matters so much in terms of like trust and continuing to do business. So they see you solving it, and they see everything and know that like it's genuine, it's being worked on, it's personal.
Exactly, and this comes back also to the agility topic. Is you want to be able to trust your logistics provider. They play a vital role in your business success. So they're not just a random vendor where you buy pens or stuff that you need for the office, right? Toilet paper. They are actually they're an integral part of your business success. Although you could also argue if people can't go to the toilet, you have but they're an integral part of your business success. So you want to make sure that you trust them and that they're a trusted advisor to you. And the only way to test that is working with them and see how they behave through problems.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, super. So thank you so much for all of that valuable insight. I think that was a super interesting and really thought-provoking. So I really, really appreciate that. Again, thank you for having the talk with me.
Yeah, well, thank you for inviting me. A pleasure. And have a very wonderful day.
Yeah, you too.